Good to see you guys again.
Definitely thanks to all of you guys. Definitely appreciate Zuber for putting this all together. So my question is about, so just recently, let's call it September, closed on my first rental in Detroit, actually.
Congrats, bro. Congrats.
So, thank you. One of the questions I wanted to ask was about, after you've gotten, the first one in terms of like building out your team, what are some of the big considerations? And I guess this can be for everybody as well, but like, what are some of the big considerations in terms of having the team, even though I know you're local to Detroit, but from also from the standpoint or mind point of investing at a distance, what are some of the big things that you focus on in terms of things like your GCs, your handyman, things like that? And then I'll kind of stop there.
Yeah, I think, so I've been investing remotely for 15 years, right? So I'm from Detroit, but I live in Orlando. Been in Orlando the last 15 years. So I've fixed and flipped, wholesale, bought apartments, all of that remotely, okay? And where you're starting is extremely important because your infrastructure is everything. How big is the rehab, or is there any rehab component to what you just bought?
Oh, no, the one that I recently bought was essentially turnkey, but wanting to take the next step, so to speak, in terms of starting to look at multifamily, whether it be duplex, triplex, fourplex, but want to take that next step of like, okay, now that I've got one, quote unquote, under my belt, what is the rest of the team, so to speak, in terms of building out?
Yeah, 100%. So obviously right now you got to start where you stand. So the property management is paramount. So getting strong property management in place, building out a couple of realtors in various areas that you're looking to invest in. I would talk to probably 3 to 5 GCs, right? Start to hear their stories. I probably even send them out on a couple of demos, have them look at a couple of properties, give me some bids, understand the way that their mind works, all those types of things. The most important part to me in all of this is if you don't have good contractors, you can't win. Don't matter how good the deal is. That's just a fact, right? You don't have good property management, you ain't never gonna collect no money, right? So somebody's laughing here, y'all know. So what I would recommend is at least once you're under contract and you're looking at a viable opportunity, I would then fly out there and meet with the contractor on the ground, okay? Meet with the contractor at a coffee shop. Meet with his properties that he's working on while he's not there. So you want to get some addresses to projects that he's working on, he or she, and go there unannounced. Because that's the best time to really find out what they do is why they're not there, right? Are the people getting there at noon? Are they showing up at 9 a.m.? Is the place clean? All those types of things. And so I think that's the most critical piece, whether you're doing it from afar or, right down the street, is making sure that you vet the contractors properly and, never pay them in advance and always pay them in arrears. Does that make sense? Okay. Did that give you context to your, okay, cool.
Again, folks, you can line up to ask questions, and if you don't, I do this all the time, so I'll just ask questions myself. So again, line up. You coming up to ask a question? Yay!
Okay, so I'm very needy of help. I'm not super personally effective. I need my family on board. So 2 questions surrounding that. One, how did you get others that are around you on board with your vision, kind of like what we were talking about with Lumberjack? I'm just curious of other perspectives around that. And then second, what kind of objections did you get from family members, whoever you were working with? How did you handle those as well?
I can talk about that one. So my husband and I, Blake, wherever he is, thank you, hi. You can get that 10-second clip, just kidding. See, YouTube, right? When we first started out, we didn't tell anybody that we were buying rentals. So we didn't get anybody on board. We didn't want anybody's opinion. I didn't tell my parents until we had 5 rentals. We didn't tell his best friend / boss until 5 or 6. And that was on accident. So we really tried not to get anybody involved because people that don't own real estate, in my opinion, a lot of my friends, I've got 3 kids and was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years, and we had a mom group of 10 moms with kids in the neighborhood for the past 10 years. And they didn't want to hear anything about other success. They don't want to hear it. They just want to hear being a nurse is the only way, being a pilot's the only way, or whatever they're doing is the only way, and they just love to talk about their struggles. They love to talk about how they could never make things work, or how it was hard to save money, or they only had so much money. They didn't want to hear there was another way, because the other way involved doing extra work. It involved going above and beyond. It involved changing who they were, changing their lifestyle patterns, and getting out of their comfort zone to do things new. So when I first started my YouTube channel, before I restarted it last year, thank you, Michael, for the encouragement, I sent my first YouTube video out to my mom friends, and I said, can you guys watch this video and give me any feedback? And the video was terrible. And if you go to my channel, it's Brick by Brick Wealth. If you go to my channel and you see my early videos, I'm much better on camera now. Only 1 girl out of 10 gave me any feedback on my video. And I'm like, guys, this took me hours to do, put myself out on YouTube, talk about real estate, and I didn't really get any constructive feedback. So my advice to you would be, don't worry about what anybody says. Now, if you have a wife or a partner or someone who has to be in this business with you, you have to get that person on board, and that's the only person that matters.
All right, so this is a question. My wife is right over there. It's all yours. It's all yours. Go for it. How do I do that? Or how can you do that?
Oh, what was the question?
You said all that matters is that we are on board. We are not currently on board. So what?
Oh, how do you get on board? Oh, hot damn.
That's what I was originally asking.
Oh.
It's not about everybody else.
Well, in that case, so I was fortunate. Blake was always on board. If you don't have a spouse on board, my advice would be my mother-in-law, she wanted to leave little news clippings about parenting when I had my first kid, just laid out on the kitchen counter, and I'm like, that was obvious, and then I would move it to the side, and then she'd put it back out. So maybe leave little things like that. Gosh, there are so many benefits of long-term rentals, right? Who can name 100 seriously right now? I mean, it's low risk, right? At least long-term rentals. I mean, other ones, there's a lot more higher risk, but long-term rentals, there's virtually no risk. Your house burns down, you have insurance. Your tenants don't pay rent, you evict them. The tenants pay for everything and then some. There is no downside. It's guaranteed wealth. It just takes time. That's a special ingredient. So I would probably make a list of all the pros and then ask her, what are the cons? Because there really aren't any. I would do pros and cons.
Yeah, the one thing I think I would take away from Matt and Ashley's conversation earlier is vision casting. Because again, right, remember, he's 28, down the line, she's 20, no checkbook, that whole story. But what she got on board with was the vision. And they said it, but it's always missed time, right? I talk about getting wealthy all the time. It's a very simple formula, but step 3 is 10 years. It's not tomorrow. It's not even next month or next year. But as long as you're on the same page and you're there for a decade, it's hard to lose. But it takes a lot of conversation. I work with people all the time where one or the other is not on board. You got to talk about it and make sure the vision is theirs as well. Make sure that whatever she wants, does she want to travel? Does she want this? Does she want that? Work it into the plan so it's your vision, not your vision. Very cool.
I'm looking for maybe a little bit of advice. I guess everybody is up here. Yeah. So my buy box is the South, like say from Texas to Florida, and single-family homes, newer or brand new construction, and that's what I have been doing for the last 5 years. And my question is, considering the current environment, which we're all aware of with rates and everything else, I can get homes from a major home builder for about a $50,000 discount if I buy them cash and then refi. With that discount, the properties are around $255,000, $260,000 for new construction, and they'll rent for around $2,000, which isn't so bad. But my question is, considering that, would you still kind of like be patient right now and hold off? Or would you say, well, they're right kind of at around cash flowing, just keep buying?
So I think we have, anybody want to jump in? I have thoughts, but don't want to dominate the mic. So the first thing I would ask you is what do you do during the day? I had a conversation with Coach Carson. I think the video just went live yesterday, talking about the more money you make, the simpler your investing style should be. So I don't know you from Adam, right? But let's just play for a minute. You make $2 a year, 200 grand a year. You're paying your bills, all of this, and this is just side money that you're looking to invest for long term. If that's who you are, that's a great lifestyle. But if you want to jump in?
Yeah, so I do have some different businesses that do pretty well, and so I invest in like a few different things, and the real estate portion of it is for mostly tax advantages for passive income, and then
there's nothing wrong with set it and forget it, move-in condition, turnkey, brand new construction.
Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering though, like, I mean, I guess nobody has a crystal ball.
Sure.
But I guess the question would still kind of stand, like, do you just keep buying because it's kind of a good deal, sort of, or do you just say, hey, the deals might get better?
Well, again, the only thing you don't have right now is a proof of concept. So again, what I would do with that information is I would take a shot at one and then chill for 6 months. See if it happened, see if it worked as expected, see what else is going on in the market, because the market will shift. We are in a market now that I think is very different in 12 to 18 months. Now, by different doesn't mean bad or good, it just means different. What do we have today? We finally have 7% mortgage rates, consistent for a year, right? Home buyers, if you guys watch my stuff, right, they've been yanked around from 4 to 8, but we've been at 7 for a year. Shout out Lance Lambert, Resi Club, for giving us that daily update. That's gonna change minds. And I don't know which way. People are gonna either stay put or they're gonna get into the buyer's market. Plus, we have the threats of tariffs and inflation and all of this. Also, we have a government that's worried about cutting the deficit. We're talking about what could lower interest rates. There's a lot of chaos going on right now. What I hear you talking about is you have a strategy that could be very much set it, forget it. I would not commit to it long term, but I would pull the trigger once.
Well, I have many of them already, but my question is, do I keep going or do I wait, really?
So I think what I hear you saying is you have a strategy with certain execution, it's working, but there's no excitement, there's not really, you're not moving the needle on the upside, you're not getting the value add or the extra opportunity. If you have those set it, forget it, I would probably keep some powder dry because I think there's opportunities coming because...
That's kind of my question, so I think that was...
That's what I think is coming. We have an entire debt cycle that has to explode. Right, there's been so much extend and pretend, so much bridge debt. This stuff's coming due, and when it does, it will provide opportunities for people with cash. Period.
Got it.
I don't know where. I don't know if it'll be the Sun Belt. It's
I'm not
coming.
married to that. That's just what I started with, and that's...
We have trillions of dollars that are going to blow up. I'm confident. It's a mathematical certainty.
And I've heard you speak a lot about the commercial side of it and all that, and right now, I would say, I've done real estate for a long time, but that's definitely like an uncomfortable
Great
zone
news.
for me.
You got 6 to 9 months to get more comfortable.
Okay, got it.
That's what I'd be doing, right? Keep the little set it, forget it, move-in condition stuff, but I want that dry powder just in case there's that lifetime opportunity that I can strike.
Perfect, thank you.
Sure, of course.
Thank you very much. This is our first time interacting with any kind of real estate conference or anything of this sort.
Welcome, yay!
Thank you. And in fact, it is my very first time in life to pay for any kind of conference. I only go to
honored.
W2 conferences and stuff like that. So I'm here with my wife, Miriam. So we invest in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and Paul around that area. And the question, I'll ask the question, I think it's for everyone, and then set some context and come back to just remind you of the question. The question is, how do you know when you are going too fast versus going too slow? That is to say, at times, we think we're going too slow. Looking back, it felt like we were going too fast. And then at some point, we felt like we were going too fast, and looking back, it's the opposite. So some context. We own, between 2020, we started investing in 2020. Exactly. Looking back, we didn't know that. Yeah. We started investing in 2020, and between 2020 June and July 2021, we bought 5 houses, total 13 units. Same area. Yes. And then all within like 15, 20 minutes drive from us. Yeah. And then started watching a lot of your show and Matt, everyone talking about stabilizing the portfolio. We just closed on number 15, unit number 15, like last week. Yes. Yeah. So, but then looking back, it feels like when we started, we were like, okay, we are going too slow because people were talking about maybe 2,000 units and stuff like that. But then it got to a point where it was too much for us. So coming back to that question is, and then now we're hearing things like it's going to be multi-family and there'll be lots of opportunity. We want to make sure that we don't get ourselves in a situation where it's too much. Yeah, we want the money, but it might be too much. So how do you know when you're going too fast, but you think you're going too slow? And how do you know when you are going too slow, but you think you are going fast?
So I've got a statement and a question. Okay, I'm gonna start with the question. What are your goals?
Our goals are very simple. We don't want to work for the rest of our life. We want to retire probably in the next 5 years.
Sure.
Period.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. That to me is like a vision casting goal, right? But I think it's important that we set smart goals for ourselves if we find ourselves in this dichotomy of trying to figure out if we're going too fast or too slow, because you got right now nothing to measure that against, okay? Now, I don't believe that there's a such thing as going too slow in real estate investing, okay? I do 100% believe there's a thing as to going too fast. Why? Because you start having infrastructure breakdowns. You know, Chester was just asking a question about how important it was to build and solidify the team before you started to scale. And so if we scale beyond, if we acquire beyond the capacity of our infrastructure, we're going too fast. Okay, that's a clear indicator. You start having all type of holes that you can't plug, you're going too fast. In terms of going too slow, I don't think that's a such thing if you're buying deals actively and you know, you're putting good infrastructure in place, good processes in place, you guys are making money, the business plan that you set out for yourself is being fulfilled, then I don't think there's a such thing. But I do believe for your own sanity, right, because you could be stimulated by so much on social media, you know, in these rooms, to your point, the 2,000 doors, like, you know what I mean? It's so many things that distract you, but if you set forth your goals, then there is no more distraction. That's the only thing that you focus on.
So to add on to what Brian said, I've been investing in the run-up to the great financial crisis and through it and then beyond. And one of the biggest things I learned from that, from people that went too far too fast, was they started, they're over-leveraged. So I'd say you're going too fast, you're going too quickly, taking on too much too soon. If you're over-leveraged, especially with risky debt, if it has balloon payments or adjustable rate, and if you don't have enough reserves. So people just go at all costs, and then something goes wrong, either if it's with the greater economy or just with your portfolio. Again, if you have your right team set up, you are less likely to have those types of disasters, but there's things that you can't control out there, and I knew a lot of good people that lost everything, and the great ones learned from it and came back stronger, but a lot didn't and lost everything. And so be very careful and mindful of the debt that you take on, and make sure that you've got your reserves. It's okay to take, in some circumstances, it makes sense to make those riskier plays if you have the reserves to be able to withstand whatever scenario life might throw at you. So I would keep that in mind as well. And as far as being too slow, I don't know if as long as you're doing the work to move yourself forward and you're not paralyzed by fear, I think it's fine to step back from time to time, especially if I'm at a point now where I'm starting to phase down into more of, I think Coach Carson calls it the harvester phase, where it's okay to not go, and but that's where I am. So there were many years of just constant expansion too. So
I would echo everything those two just said. And from what I'm gathering from you, I see you may have a shiny object syndrome a little bit. So just be mindful of that. And social media portrays this glamorous version of people's lives and all that they have, but that's not always the case. And you don't even really need to be up here asking the question. You already know the answer if you're going too fast or too slow. So do what feels right in your heart and don't worry about what you see online.
They pretty much said it. I mean, everything they just said, spot on. I mean, it's just a risk tolerance. Everybody has different risk tolerance. You know, one thing I found is some people have very high risk tolerance and they can operate at 100 miles an hour. Some people can't. Where's your comfort zone, right? And I don't mean comfort zone like that. I mean operation where you're not losing. Yeah, you're losing your shit, pardon my language, right? You're able to keep it intact, right? And you know what that is, just like what you said. You know what that is, and same thing what Brian said. Compare it to your goals, but for everybody in this room, stop comparing your life to the controlled content on social media. Like, that's nothing more than... It's nothing more than just crop material. You guys get that, right? Like, I was having this conversation with my wife the other day because, I mean, how many of you wives, you go on social media on Valentine's Day and, like, you see these amazing things that these husbands did. And then what do you start doing? You start looking at him like, what the, right? So, same thing, right? Anyways. Happy Valentine's Day.
So I'll give you one action item. What I always knew when we were going too fast or too slow was 6 months after I bought a property, is it behaving like I thought it would? Because on the spreadsheet, when you bought it, you expected it to do X. If it did X better, you're good. Sometimes they do X worse, and you need to step back and check yourself because you don't want to do that again, right? So that's definitely something I would do up front. And welcome to the show.
Hello again. I have a panel question. So me and my wife are looking at investing out of California. We currently have a few rentals there, but it's just not meeting our criteria, if you will, as to what we're looking for. So we're pretty much here, or I'm here, because she's pregnant, connecting with individuals. And the question is, when you were trying to establish a buy box, what kind of questions as far as area would you be asking in order to establish that?
So I think the most important thing is just understanding. There was a gentleman a couple questions ago who talked about, I think, being all in at $275 on like $2K a month rents. I don't know how much margin is there, if any, but his strategy is predicated on tax shelter, right? So him playing an appreciation game while not really getting anything in cash flow works to his strategy. So I say that to say this, there's a reason you're moving out of California. I would imagine that the appreciation aspect, you want some monthly cash flow, right?
Free cash flow and getting away from politics.
Yeah.
I want an owner-friendly state.
Yeah. So with that being said, then I think it's important to look at different marketplaces that fit the yield that you're looking for. I think that's the best place to start. You know, if in the Midwest, you know, with 20% down, you can make 20, 30, 40, even 50% returns on your money, cash on cash, and that's what you're looking for. That makes sense. You know, but we up here talking about risk tolerance as well. So you just have to understand going into those marketplaces that you have to have a certain level of tolerance for certain things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, mine's very high, and my wife is
that's amazing.
mid.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So yeah, so as long as you understand the give and take in that regard, and it truly is like, you know what, I'll play a higher risk with a higher reward, then I think that's the way I would look at it all day long.
The one thing I want to add to that is I get asked all the time about, hey, you invest in California, you go somewhere else. That has always been seen as risky to me, but now thanks to Brian, to Mike, I'm interested in those areas. But here's the key. On Bigger Pockets, they talk about the core four. Everybody know about that, right? Real estate agent, broker, all of those things, right? I actually think the most important thing when you're going out of state is actually number 5, and that is, who do you know or have a relationship with on the ground that will do you a solid and go drive by it or check it? You've got to have, like, I think I said this on older videos, like, who's going to show up at your funeral? right? Don't only rely on people you're paying, because that goes the wrong way, right? Have somebody there, at least start there. The thing that I don't like new investors are doing to go out of state is they go, what are the top 10 markets? I mean, how do you know, right? So you've got to have infrastructure. At least that's where I would start, infrastructure, college, things of that nature.
Yeah, I agree with Mike. You will only be as successful as your project manager, whoever that person is, boots on the ground for you. And for most people, right, in my experience, I've got students who invest from as far as Denmark into the States. For them, the realtor is typically going to be your first de facto project manager, because they're the person that's facilitating the transaction. They have a vested interest in your success initially. If they can see that there's a runway for future business, they have an even more vested interest in your success. And then they'll start to, because they have so much, resources in that local market, they'll start connecting you with folks. And then from that, like anything else, y'all know this, real estate is a contact sport. You'll start to meet more people, and then you can identify the person that Mike is talking about that would show up to your funeral, right? And so it's just relationship building. Once you buy your first one, getting on the ground, spending time there, and going out meeting people is the most important piece for sure. Yeah.
I'm Rick Dews, Middle Georgia. My wife and I have 31 rentals. Thank you. I have a very simple question, but yet it is also complicated. What we've run into and still run into is a lot of times through her being on social media and pushing all of our properties, we'll have a family or a friend reach out, or a friend of a family or a friend, and they want to rent. So what's your opinion on renting to family and friends, and how do you wiggle out of it and still save the relationship?
I don't do it. Never, ever, ever, period. And the reason why is because I value the relationship too much. And so as soon as that relationship dynamic changes, where you have that landlord-tenant relationship where if they can't pay, then you're stuck in a position where I've made the mistake. I think everyone up here maybe has made that mistake at least once, but then after that you don't do it anymore, because for some reason friends and family don't feel like they need to pay you the same as they would pay others. Like if something happens in their life, which happens to everyone, they think, oh, they'll understand, it's okay, we're friends. And a lot of times investors will take on these properties where a family or a friend is in the property and they're a deadbeat tenant and they don't know what to do. So you can come in and take that problem from them because they can't handle that. But it will, I would rather just keep it separate, and because I value my friends and family so much, I would never cross that line. Every time I've tried to make an exception to that, even when I had one where we had the talk and this is all business, it went bad anyway, and we don't talk anymore, and it's not worth it. It's best to help them find another place, maybe make some other connections if you can to help them out. But any seasoned landlord, we get jaded after a while, and that's one of the things that we get a thick skin about, and you just really have to keep that line firmly drawn.
The only answer.
Wow, I've never spoken in front of this many people. This is interesting. Thank you. So I am Micah Dews. My father was just on the mic before me. I started my entrepreneurial journey about a year ago. I have a home service business. He has all the rental properties. It was perfect for me to step into it.
How old are you?
18. Just turned 18. Yes, sir. I am a senior in high school. Yep.
Oh, shut up.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yep. So I have a question. What is one thing about being, entrepreneurial or economics that y'all have learned out in the real world that you don't learn in school? That is.
Oh! Who's going first on this one?
I'll go since I'm already holding that.
That's a long list, son.
I will say, the one thing that I learned, so I started so a little quick history of me was born and raised in California, moved to Memphis, Tennessee. I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years, and then I decided started buying rental properties. Then I started my coaching program, Brick by Brick Wealth, to help new investors with their first rental property, and that was online business. Besides that, I had started a little Etsy shop, right, to get money for our first rental. But the hard work came when you have to wear all the hats and do things that no one's helping you do. So to me, the hardest thing in life was not buying my first rental property, wasn't having my first baby. It was having the guts to continue when times got tough with your own business. So what I would say is the thing that I learned that school didn't teach me, and we homeschool our kids now, because I'm not a super fan of public education. Yay, thanks. I would say mindset is key. And I would recommend you to read The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. And I'm not super religious. I don't go to church. I grew up Christian. But to me, spirituality and knowing that there's something else out there and knowing that everything that you do is your fault. I love that. And I'm sure God teaches that. But yeah, I learned that from that book, The Power of the Subconscious Mind. And doing daily meditations, having goals, taking action steps, and really just believing in yourself, because whatever you believe is going to come true. Now, my daughter, she's 13. She's going to start her sourdough bread making business, and I'm really proud of her. She does amazing nail art. I didn't have time for her to do my nails. I was in a rush. She does a quick job. But I'm trying to teach her, being an entrepreneur and starting your own business is difficult, especially when you have other obligations. Like, you're going to school. Do you, go to school?
I just started homeschool.
See? Amen. So good job. Now, right, you're going to have time to do what really matters. Going to school and doing all the schoolwork, out of school, taking up 8 hours a day, plus homework, that's stupid, okay? So congratulations to you and your parents for helping you on this journey. You have so much time now. So get your butt up early, get yourself a planner or, a Google Calendar, and plan out your day in advance. And what I have my kids do, I have 3 kids, and the littlest one is 7. Every night now, we say, what are your 3 goals for tomorrow? And my little one sometimes says, one of my goals is to play football with Daddy outside tomorrow. Okay, that's one goal. Good exercise goal. Get your homework, get your schoolwork done goal, and what other goal to further your life with making sourdough bread, or I have my middle son help with doing the books on our rental properties in my coaching business. He's got to do more of that. Text time. But at night, having 3 goals, right? Saying, what are my 3 goals going to be tomorrow? And then when you go to bed, you say, did I accomplish my 3 goals? And you got to write them down, because if you don't write them down, you're going to forget the next day. I forgot what my goals were. So have a notebook in bed, write down what your 3 goals are. I know I learned this from somebody, someone's book. And say the next day, did I accomplish my goals, and what are my next goals? And if you can continue making progress and know that any negativity or any, life is like, right, a wavelength of vibration, right? So you're going to have ups and downs. And I've learned through my business, there's ups and downs. The highs are high and the lows are low. And when you're at your low, you feel like, I'm never going to get back there again. You will, as long as you don't give up on yourself and you don't believe. So I think what they didn't teach me in school was that you have to rely on yourself. Nobody cares about you but yourself. And it's up to you to make things happen. So keep believing, keep having action steps and taking action every day, and always look back and make sure that you're accomplishing your goals and you're not making excuses.
Thank you.
To piggyback off what Casey's saying, that the biggest thing that school doesn't teach you is how to control the most expensive real estate in the world. The most expensive real estate in the world is that 6 inches between your ears. It's your mindset, right? You're 19 years old. I started when I was about your age too, 18. The hardest problem you're gonna have is that head of yours, is that mind that talks you out of everything, right? So the other thing that school doesn't teach you how to do is how to audit your circle. So this is the biggest thing that I was taught. Grab a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle. On the left-hand side, write down everybody who's a positive aspect to your life, everybody that's good. On the right-hand side, write down everybody who's negative. All the friends where you tell them something and they always have something to say. The family members who always have something to say. Somebody who always has something to say. You guys have somebody who has always something to say. They're out of my life. Everybody that has something to say that's not a positive, you got to get rid of them. And you got to spend more time with the people that believe in you. Spend more time with people like this in this room. Your biggest problem is going to be the sphere that you hang around. So get away from the sphere. If anything, move away from your town. Biggest thing I did was I moved away. I got away from everybody, right? Go put yourself in a big pond. Right now, you're probably the biggest fish in your little pond of friends. You're in the wrong circle. You need to be the smallest one, right? Where everybody else is doing big stuff. So you guys, let's give this young gentleman a round of applause.
Hard to top that, but a couple of things I would say is that problems are good. It's when it gets difficult, welcome that. We solve problems for a living. That's what people in real estate do. I'm real estate sales as well as real estate investing, and it seems like all I do all day is solve anyone's random problem constantly, and I welcome that because it's a challenge. I love that I've been able to build the resources to be able to do that, or send them to the person that can solve the problem, but that welcome the problems because that's a challenge for you to become valuable to that person, and look for ways to become from contribution with everybody that you interact with. Somebody needs something done with a, would you say a handy, like a service, home services business? Somebody needs something done, go offer to do it. You see something else that needs to be done, oh, I fixed that GFCI as well because I saw that needed to be done just cause, or just, this person needs their driveway, pressure wash, whatever you see, just find ways to add value. And when it gets difficult, just know that that is the differentiator between you and at least 90% of everyone else who will go away when things get difficult. If you can be the one that sticks through when things are challenging, you'll be the one that is of value. And the other thing I would say is if you say you're going to do something at a certain time, do that thing at that time. If you can't do it, get back to them. We say, hey, thank you for waiting. I've been working on this. It's taking a little longer than I thought, but I just wanted to let you know I'll get back to you by X time, and then do it. You do that one thing, you will stand out above the crowd just in that alone.
Yeah, I would just add to all of these amazing things that they said is remembering that you have to give up to go up. Give up to go up. So you always want to give more than you try to get from others. It's the law of reciprocity. You'll always have more by giving more, okay? The other thing is just understanding you don't have to do it alone. So you're not in school, let's just say you didn't want to do your homework and you paid somebody to do your homework, right? In school, we would get in trouble for such a thing, yes? However, in business, we make more money by way of doing that. That's right, it's subcontracting. So delegation is elevation in business, okay? So just understanding that you don't have to do it alone. It is a team effort. And, to Adrian's point, go find your tribe. The most important thing is when you start to purge your environment is to immerse yourself in the correct environment. So start looking for other, service-based business conferences and seminars that you can attend and just start building and cultivating relationships.
So I got the last thing for you. One, the most valuable skill I ever learned, and I have a lot of college education, was public speaking. Invest in yourself. Go to Toastmasters or something. Get comfortable having conversations. In today's world, get comfortable having conversations on camera. So that is $1 million skill. You don't need to go to college for that. Number two, life is about disposable income, not top line, bottom line. Understand that, because a lot of people go bankrupt, somewhere in between that. And then number three, it is about network. What's your first name again?
Micah.
Mikan?
Yes.
Mikan, I want to introduce you to a guy named Brad Hardy. Brad Hardy was you 25 years ago. Now he is the baller of all ballers, running around in a private jet and all this other shit. So sometimes you got to know who you know. So I want to make this introduction because 25 years ago, Brad, I knew him, was you. He was running a painting company. He's not running that now. I want to Brad, you're my boy, right? You're going to talk to that young man, yeah? Sometimes it's who you know.
Thank you. And if I could say thank you to my father, he's taught me more in the last 6 months than I've learned.
Aw, is somebody get that on camera?
Good afternoon, everyone. So I just want to thank my friend or mentor in real estate. If it wasn't for her sending me your YouTube video, I wouldn't be here.
Who was it?
Her name is Samaria Thomas. She's with TD Realty in Fort Worth, Texas. And I really feel at home being here. I feel like this is the place that I needed to be. I needed to be in a room like this so I could get my questions answered about investing in real estate. So I purchased my first home with the VA home loan about 3 years ago, and now I'm trying to rent that one out so I can go buy my second one. And I guess my question is like all this uncertainty about like how to pick a tenant, because I've picked tenants for other clients, but it's like I don't know if I should be doing like HUD to put other veterans in there, or if I should like run a group home, or if I should just do a traditional lease, or my heart is just all, and I think it's because I'm putting emotions in it and I'm not just dealing with it like a transaction, you know?
So you've helped place other tenants for other people before?
Correct.
So what would make doing it for you feel different than doing it for other people?
Because it's mine.
Okay. So I self-manage our rentals, and I'm hating it more and more. No. You know, I love the money, and I'm cheap, so I don't want to hire it out. That's the truth. But I would say you really have to take your heart and rip it out and put it on the floor. That's what I do. I learned the hard way. And I was nice, and I would let things slide when, you know, there were excuses of why they couldn't pay rent on time, or they got a dog, and, oh, they were going to tell me. You know, no, they weren't. I just drove by and saw the little doggy in the window and said, knock, knock. And so you just have to know, in my opinion, that just tenants want to take advantage. A lot of them want to take advantage, and a lot of them don't. And that depends on the type of neighborhood and the types of tenants that you buy into. So I would say just treat it like a business, take your heart out, and know that if you don't, you're going to get screwed. So it's just a matter of time, and then you will start taking it seriously and going by the book and the lease agreement.
Any other advice?
You know, one of the things that you have to watch out for is, I heard you talk about wanting to rent to veterans or this or that. In some states, I don't know where you are, you can get in trouble for that, right? Especially California. Not that I invest there or anything. But you got to be careful. You got to know the rental laws, because sometimes you can get in trouble and open yourself up to some liability. So in general, it's a business. You know, run the numbers, have your criteria for tenant selections. It should be non-emotional as much as it can be. Anybody disagree with non-emotional?
One thing I'll say, and I'm not going to answer your question directly, but indirectly, we overcomplicate 99% of all of this, right? Like, we really do. We just overcomplicate this, right? It's just so simple. You already know what to do. All of you know what to do. We just overcomplicate it, right? So just simplify it. Simplify just like you do in your normal process, right? When you're in your head, you're dead, right? So get out of your head and get into what you know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. My question is, I'm wrapping up my first year with my first rental, and it's interesting. It's actually piqued the interest of my nieces and nephews. So they're
how old? Sorry.
So they're all range between 10 and 5.
That's all. Damn.
Yeah, one
you
wants
got
to
some
be a
good
plumber
genes
now.
in that family.
Yeah,
10 to 5.
And I have a newborn. Yeah, 3 weeks old. So
wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Oh yeah, I know. Thank my wife. But yeah, my question is that I want to build this interest. I want to help guide them, but I don't want to smother them. What would be something that would really kind of, is there a hands-off way? Or
yeah. So Beth, we'll go to you first because you have older ones, and then Casey next.
Yeah, so I think the main thing would be to, first of all, congratulations on getting your first rental. Good job.
Thank you.
I would say they see what we do, and I would just bring them along to observe. So if you're going to the home to do some repairs or talk with them, or if you're buying your next one and you're looking at properties and evaluating them, keep it age appropriate, of course, where it's going to connect to them. And for my kids, when they were littler, sometimes if they'd be like, oh, we got to go look at this rental property because something happened over there. And they're like, oh, it's like, this is how we do the things we do. So when we get to go on trips and do these activities, like, this is what makes that possible. And so just making sure they're aware, like, look, we do this, and then this happens. And or I bought this property, and it was doing this, and now it's doing, if they're 5, you're not going to talk too much about cash flow and things like that. But if they're older, you might say, look, I bought this house 10 years ago for this price. Now it's worth this. It's giving us this much a month, and this is why it makes sense for us to do this. And And if they're interested, they'll take those nuggets and ask more, and it will develop. And for some, they may not be interested, and that's okay. For some, it may come later in life too, because you got to think where they are developmentally as well too. You know, when kids are kids, they're thinking about different things, and then they're growing into others. But the main thing I would say is they learn by observing. So just by having them be around you to see what that is and why it's good for you will do a lot for them.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, so I agree. What they tune into, they turn into eventually. But it took my daughter 14 years before she got interested. And then when she was 18, she decided to get her first property. I made her buy my course, right? Yeah.
No discounts?
I gave her half off. I gave her half off, okay? And I gave her pro bono mentorship. But when people pay, they pay attention. So I had been doing it for 14 years. I had to call her bluff to make sure she was serious and wasn't gonna waste my time, right? So she went and bought her first deal remotely in Connecticut. Fast forward, she's getting married now in 10, 12 days. Thank you so much. She's selling the property and she's about to put 80 grand in her pocket to start her new life, right? So they'll come around eventually. And to Beth's point, they are paying attention, they are watching. As a dad, right, it's just important that we don't shove it down their throat, because I think that it actually has a counterproductive effect by doing that too early. So I had to endure all the dance dad years, you know what I mean? And eventually she came around. And now proof of concept, she sees at this pivotal moment in her life how an investment that was made 4 years ago is been feeding her every year and about to be the platform by which she can build her new marriage off of. And so now she knows why it's important for her to keep doing it.
Yeah.
You look good for your age, Douglas.
Yeah, no kidding. So I have kids around that age. I have a 7-year-old, 11-year-old, and a 13-year-old. And with our rentals, we do bring them along. Not all the time. We used to bring them along much more. To the properties to do renovations and all that sort of stuff. And my little one would, pick up leaves and pick up sticks, and I would, here's $5. So when it's little kids, like Beth was saying, you want them to be excited about it, and only don't get too much in the weeds with numbers and math, because that is boring, okay? The only math you should show is look how much money you can make, and you don't need to do the numbers on how to get there. We did an open house method last weekend for one of our rentals, and we brought my middle son, Jace, and he's 11. And we were killing some time because nothing was going on. I'm like, hey, good time for some, homeschool training on real estate. So I took out a piece of paper, and I said, all right, well, we live in Tennessee. And I said, Jace, where's a place that you would live? Where's a place that you would work at, when you're 16? And he said, Mellow Mushroom, pizza place. I'm like, all right, well, I bet those guys get paid $10 an hour. So let's do the math. You can own one rental property and make $500 a month, or you can work 4 to 5 days a week after school, 4 hours a day to make $500. And he was like, oh, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. I want to buy a rental property. So it's like, yeah, think about how many hours, because if you have your 5 to 10 years old, put it in that aspect. Like when you are of working age, you're going to be making $10 an hour. We're in Tennessee. California, I guess they get 20, but, gallon of milk costs $20 too. So it's insane. Anyway, so thankful we live in Tennessee. No state income tax too and stuff. It's cheaper. I was a Californian for 30 years, so we left. We left. But I would show them, take them with you, give them a little bit of money, right, when they help out. I think that'd be fun. Like, oh, look, rewarded for real estate efforts. And then show them the numbers when it comes to how much they can make, and if they're 16 to 18 years old, how many hours will they have to make in order to make the same amount of cash flow as they would with one rental property, and watch them wonder, how can I get $30,000 to buy my first rental?
Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Jose. I'm from Los Angeles. And we love the weather, we love Disney, and we get to see Adrian on TV. So I don't think we're going to go anywhere anytime soon, but a little bit of my story. Graduated with a C-. I started my business in 2011, makes in the mid-7 figures. I'm in the process of selling it. I have 5 properties, 11 doors. once I sell my business, this guy is really eager, hopefully by the end of the month, it's going to free up 2 properties that I no longer need because my buy box was my business. So whatever my business needed, I bought. So once I sell that, I can pay off 2 other properties, and that would, between those 2 properties, it will generate between $35,000 and $40,000 a month. So yes, a month. So I like the small and mighty investor, but is that too small and too mighty? Because I mean, some of them I have a beachfront in San Diego, and I have one right by the airport in LA, and the rents are about $5,000. So if one of my tenants, the only good thing is that they're going to be paid off. So my question is, what would you recommend I do? Should I pay off these properties and take the money, or should I look for something a little bit more?
What's the debt? What's the interest rate?
Oh, that one's brutal. One's at 7.99. I have one that's at 7.99. That one I want to pay off, yeah.
Yeah, so my general rule on debt is if it's over 7%, and you can even talk to me about 6.5%,
right.
I want that debt to go bye-bye.
Okay.
But if you got debt sub 4, I mean, it's like free money.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like...
Yeah, one's at 7.99, the one's at 4.5.
So I would definitely pay one, and the other one's close enough to, I mean, you could get 5 in a treasury.
Right.
So, I mean, anybody have different answers on that? Those are simple math. Pay off the 8, keep the 4.5.
Okay. All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
No, of course.
Hi, Nikki San Diego. A couple questions, too. One, I got a build coming up in a year in San Diego, and I was wondering, because I'm getting completely different ideas about how the Palisades fire, 6,500 homes destroyed, and the upcoming supply-demand issues in a build. That's my first question. What's your take on that? Second question is, I have quite a bit of equity in 2 properties, and in regards to risk level, should I leave that? I don't know if I need the money to take it out, but should I leave a large amount of equity in an investment rental property?
I'll answer Palisades and I'll pass the second question on. We haven't seen, Palisades is interesting because we don't, so I'm in Orange County. We advertise in Los Angeles County all the way down to the north part of San Diego, which is Escondido and Carlsbad and Oceanside. We haven't seen a major push from the Palisades yet. Here's the thing. We don't know what California is going to allow them to do and not do with their lots yet, right? So, everybody's like, are we going to see this push? When? Right? We're not seeing it now. We have, we run, to what's the name's point, we run TV commercials, and what we are getting is we're getting people in Altadena trying to sell their lots because Altadena was that blue-collar worker. Those were the people that need the money now. The people in the Palisades, a lot of those houses were $3, $5, $10, $15 million. They're on to their next, they're going to their next second property. So what we're really going to see is the Altadena fire is going to play a big role in San Diego, and we're already seeing it. All of those people will then push because they're not going to be able to afford in Los Angeles. They're going to have no choice but to go to the Inland Empire or the high desert, right? I can't answer your question 100% because we don't know what California is going to do yet. I mean, in Hawaii, I don't know who's from Hawaii. Can you even buy in Maui yet? I don't even think you can buy in Maui right now where the fires were at. And how long ago was that? Right? And so, they're trying to take a different approach on LA, but we don't know. This is what I'm telling all the agents and all the investors. Don't count on it.
As far as supply, like lumber, parts, and things like that, how it's going to affect San Diego if that starts getting rebuilt. I'm hearing nothing, and then I'm hearing it's going to completely affect it. So what's your take on that?
I think it's too soon to tell. I mean, could we project that it could? Yeah, maybe.
What's your best guess? Because that's all I got right now.
It'll impact years from now.
It would, to Michael's point, we're not going to see it this year, maybe 2 years from now.
2 years, you
right?
think?
Maybe when they really start to build, but are they going to build houses, right? Now we're talking, I mean, the Olympics is coming. What are they really going to do with that area, right? I don't want to go there, but what are they really going to do? We don't know,
So
right?
if I get started in a year, I should be okay before the main supply
Most definitely.
issues hit.
Yeah, I think you're safe
And then
there.
as far as leaving equity in a property?
Let me pass that on.
Well, I struggle with the same thing because I'm in a high cost of living area in the greater Seattle area, have a lot of equity in a lot of properties. And in fact, I had a strategy session with the Three Amigos, which I rewatch from time to time. It's been wonderful. The reason for me to not pull it out is because then the cash flow becomes untenable.
Yep.
So I'm not going to go negative cash flow to pull more debt on a property at this point in my life. I'm not going to do that. There may be a point when it's time to turn the table and go into full retirement mode where I may need to do some reallocating, maybe buy some different types of properties, such as apartment buildings, or maybe I'm not super comfortable investing out of state. It's not my thing. That'd be more for these other folks to talk about. But I think it depends on your market and your goals and cash flow. But
How about leaving equity in regards to risk, like getting sued?
what's that?
In regards to a risk, like getting sued from a tenant.
Well, I mean, I have two very large umbrella policies, and you can't. There's debate about how much the LLC protects you. I think you still need a lot of insurance for that. Yeah.
The fact is that if you have a mortgage on the property, it is a line of defense, right? Because the lender is engaged at that point because they don't want to lose their position. On top of that, umbrella, first line of insurance, being a good operator as well, let's not forget that, right? Don't be a slumlord.
Yep.
So there's multiple layers here, stack. But yeah, having a mortgage on a property does give you an additional layer of security.
Thank you, sir.
Yep, of course.
My name is Justin Canberra. I'm from Seattle. I invest in Seattle, Milwaukee, and Des Moines, Iowa. My goal for 2025 is to actually get my YouTube channel started, W2 to Freedom. My question is for Michael. You've done a great job for this community. Thank you for hosting this event. My question is, done a great job for the community. I'm just so blown away that what you've done for so many years, the consistency. Like, can you explain how you've done it for so long? Every morning I wake up, 7:30, you're there every day. It's like amazing.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Who's been watching ORAT for 5 years or more? Woo! The OG's in the house. So if you haven't watched my first video, and you would have to go look for it because it's 13 or 14,000 videos ago, it's me sitting on my couch in California. And in that video, I say something that is still true today. The only reason I'm doing or did that video and every 14,000 videos after is because I'm playing a different game. I'm trying to create something that outlives me by my physical body by 50 years. That's the only game I'm playing. About a year and a half ago, somebody offered me $1 million for one rental at a time. The trademark, the brand, the channel, the books, everything. And I told them to go pound sand because this is not the game I'm trying to play. So I have known since day one, and if still have it as powerful today on this stage, that's what I'm trying to do. I am only thinking about what is going to outlive me by 50 years. And everybody in this room, all your children, I hope they're going to know the name Michael Zuber or One Rental at a Time because we are changing generations. And that's what I'm aiming for. That's why I do 7:30 live 5 days a week. That's why you get 4 videos a day because I'm not messing around, right? I'm just broken that way. There you go.
All right, so I have so before I ask my question, I'm gonna tell you the reason why I do it, because why I do it is not the same reason why most investors do it.
Okay.
My reason why I started investing is I became an accidental landlord, got a job, moved there, bought a house, and then after the first mortgage payment, I started seeing one less person every Monday from the previous Friday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was cool. And so I started looking for another job, and fortunately I got one, and I moved 3,000 miles.
Oh, wow.
And that's great. It cash flows well. The best thing that ever happened was Delaware's transfer tax, because that prevented me from being able to afford to sell the darn thing.
Oh.
So, on that regard, most time taxes suck. That's the only time you're ever going to hear me say a tax is a good thing, is because it prevented me from selling the property, because I knew I'd be under $25,000 if I sold it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, just the moment you sign the contract, you're down, you're down 6%. Okay. So for me, the reason why I realize after I work in banking is I realize how I wanted to make sure that no matter what happened in life, my kids, my kids would always have a place to be, because I was home, like, I slept in a car when I was 14, anyways, that kind of stuff. So one of the things I'm having a hard time with is when I'm trying to figure out how to vet a lawyer or whatever who can accomplish two things for me. One's the trust. That's easy. Everybody talks about, when you go on the websites, is all about, I don't know, passing down the wealth from generation to generation. I worked in private banking. I see it all the time. But the other part of it is I want them to make sure that on the same token, I have real estate, and I want to make sure that's protected, that make sure I'm eliminating risk from it being my name. I don't want I would like for my renters not to be able to go to the county website and see my name on it. I would like and then I want to get that buttoned down so future properties is the same way. So how do you go about finding the right, trust attorney, whatever, who understands not just, I want to pass it down and here's an irrevocable trust or whatever. Look, I can Google that in 5 freaking minutes, right? But it's also the real estate, because most people don't advertise that they focus on real estate at the same time. And I think it's easy to find people that are focused on real estate. It's easy to find people that are focused on, generation, wealth generation or that kind of trust. But I can't find people who understand both, because I know if I focus on one too much, I'm going to get screwed over. Why? Because I work in banking. I've seen families destroyed by their kids because somebody didn't button it up right. And then they got sued, and that was it. It wasn't like the kids not being interested or anything, or, we live in a legalistic society. So I'm having a hard time finding both that there.
Yeah, but before any of us answer the question, I saw you get emotional there. And if we can, guys, let's all just you could tell that you're coming from your heart. Yeah, let's give them a round of applause. You can tell you're a good man. You've gone through some stuff, and your mission is different. And I just wanted to applaud you. If no one's told you you're doing a great job, I hope you know you're doing a great job. Let's give it one more time for this gentleman right here. I got lost in your story. I didn't hear the question, so.
So my experience with attorneys is you have to find one that is first licensed in the state where you own the asset.
Okay.
Right, so you're living in place A, but the asset's in place B.
That's correct.
My experience with the trust attorneys that I've spoken with is you got to find somebody where the asset is. Step one.
Okay.
Don't look here, look there. Second, the thing that I would be doing, again, you said Delaware, right? Do I remember that?
Yes, I live in Oregon, but
right. So West
my
Coast,
apartments are in
East
Delaware.
Coast.
Yeah.
So what I would try to do is I would try to find local real estate meetups, online meetups in Delaware, because you have to find and ask for referrals. And this is how I would go about it. So, and actually, we probably could do this. I could probably make a connection with a guy named Bob Langworthy. He runs Maine Bean Counters. Maine is the state.
Yep.
Right, so he's an account that Olivia and I use. It's one that Lumberjack uses. But the reason I'm mentioning him is he is an accountant that knows folks across the country. He may have a reference, because real estate people talk to real estate people, right? So it's all about who you know in the network. So it's about that first and that second order. But what I would own is, if it was me with this feeling, is I would spend time trying to find Delaware-based real estate meetups that I can attend virtually. First, just watch, because there's a bunch of shysters and out there, but you will find the good ones, and then just ask for referrals. Don't tell them your whole story yet. Yeah. Just like, who do you guys use for this? And then what you do is you get the same name 2, 3, 4, 5 times. That's the phone call to make. And the second thing is, like I recommended Bob Langworthy, talk to accountants that know lawyers. And then if you want to find a good accountant, you talk to lawyers that know accountants, right? So that would be advice I would use.
And then for protection, for all of you guys, I recently went down the rabbit hole with this, because we had a tenant whose cousin showed up at one of my partner's house because he found them online. So what we did is there's plenty of sites like Delete Me or Aurora, starts with an A. I highly suggest, if any of you guys own rentals, sign up for that, because what that does is that takes all of your public information off online. So like if you go to Ben Verified, you can't find us, right? So being able to take all your public information offline is really crucial. And for landlords, that's really, really important. So that's one thing we do is deleteme.com. And then the other one's Aurora. It starts with an A. I'm not going to try to spell it. It starts with an A. But there's like 5 different sites that do that. You pay like $200 a year, and they take all your personal information offline. It's very valuable.
I guess another question I have is, fortunately, because when we bought the property, fortunately, when I became an asset landlord, it's 2012. So, like, you could have thrown a rock in a pond and probably found 10 cash flowing rentals at that point in time. I remember. Right. I wish I would have. I mean, there's no time machines, but it's one of those things. Like, I wish I would have been paying attention. It's not even I wish I would have, done this or that. If I would have been paying attention, it would have been almost impossible not to make the right move. But that's not the environment we're in right now. Right. And one thing I'm having a hard time is with the base off, from like what my goal is. For, because I'm thinking down the road is I want to make sure I have 3 in that market. Like if I stay in that market, great. If I go to another market, but I don't want to leave the market till I have the 3rd one. Even though I see other markets that maybe cash flow better, maybe I know people there and it cash flows there. This has been an awesome event where I've been able to talk to people, network, and so I guess how would you go about potentially setting up like to self-manage from afar, even though you may know somebody there or you may not know somebody there, but from afar without knowing any contractors in the area. Also, you're 3,000 miles away. Without, yes, there's technology and that kind of stuff, but also kind of making sure you can have somebody check on it if you don't know anybody in the area, right? Like, how would you go about? Because I already have 2 there. I'd like to get a 3rd one, but sadly, with the way the numbers are working right now, it's only going to work if I self-manage. I mean, you can still find yourself cash flows, but once you put the property management fee, it doesn't cash flow.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So couple things. One, are you in any like Delaware investor Facebook groups or Discords or anything like that?
I have searched for them. I'm in one.
Okay.
To be honest, it's horrible.
Okay.
Like it's obviously not.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
It's a lot of tire kickers in those
Yeah.
environments sometimes.
Yeah,
but they
I
also
kind of
can
like
be
poke questions
a
and
very
so
good
forth. Like, and
resource.
I'm like, okay, these guys. I don't know. I swear, like 80% of that group is shysters.
Yeah.
I can't.
No, that's fair.
Can't prove it, but that's what it feels like.
That's fair. So then the next thing I would do is I will reach out to investor-friendly agents in that marketplace. Investor-friendly agents, right? And so just start having conversations with them and tell them what you're trying to do. A lot of agents right now need money. I don't know if anybody noticed. Like, that's been a thing for a little while now. Yeah, transactions down a little bit. So they got a little more time on their hands than they did when you were calling them in 2020. And, if you tell them that if they were helpful and resourceful to you, that you're willing to pay them a nominal fee for their time. But many of them have a lot of the connections that you would need already, right? Okay. And so you can use them as a starting point. I will call 20 of them. Seriously, cold call 20 of them. Find 2, 3 that make sense. You'll start to hear the narrative over and over and understand which ones sound like they know what they're talking about and which ones don't. And then just tell them what you're trying to execute on. Okay. Because many of them also, will probably try to give you their leasing services. And, agents are getting very creative right now because of the low transactions. So that's where I would start, honestly. Yeah. There, and obviously, you could Google property management companies in the area and call and vet those folks as well. And, just asking them key questions about retention, what's their turnover like, what's their current occupancy, what's their maintenance fees, right? How much do they charge in terms of the override? All of those questions, how do they retain good tenants? And again, as you start to talk to enough of them, you'll find consistency in the things that make sense, and you'll start to figure out the ones that's full of it. Okay, that makes sense?
Yes. And we have a good property manager, good property management company. It's just sadly with the prices, the rent ratio is kind of got out of whack enough to where it's like, okay, the next one to get it to cash flow, I need, it's almost needs to be self-managed versus before I could buy them, have a property manager, and it's still cash flow just fine, no big deal. It's just now the margins are getting so thin to where it's, I need the rents to go up a little bit, but I also know I don't trust real estate to go down. I trust it to go up.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to I don't want to say take a risk, but if I'm going to quote take a risk, you know, I want to do it sooner, get one underneath, let rents come up, and then maybe turn it back over to that property manager who's done a great job for me for the last 10 years. But
For
still,
sure, for sure.
it's just the margin.
Do you have
issue.
the bandwidth to self-manage though?
I think with technology and so forth, I think the big thing would be quarterly inspections, and then having that person, you know, quarterly inspections or something along those lines, because as my property manager does, so I know it's legal. And also having somebody there to meet the potential tenants, to vet the tenants, right? Those are the two things. I think everything else technology can kind of take care of, but
Yeah.
those are
Yeah.
the two problems I need to solve, right? So,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would definitely start with an investor-friendly agent.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello, Tommy Smith, Riverside. Awesome job. Awesome job. This is probably directed to Adrian. Have you changed anything for your 2025 marketing strategies? Do you see anything that you see coming up ahead? And have you changed any disposition strategies as far as like maybe going towards more so wholesale or flipping, or like what is the disposition strategy you're currently using in 2025?
Yeah, so for marketing, we used to do a lot of outbound. We used to do a lot of text messaging and cold calling. But I called it last year. Right before an election, they pull back, and right after the election, they put the brakes on, right? So we're already seeing the tightening of cold calls. We're already seeing the tightening of text messages. So we changed our strategy. We're just all inbound now. So we're focusing all on inbound leads. We're not going to them anymore. It's now Google ads, TV commercials, mailers, billboards, moving trucks. It's finding a way to get in front of them outside of going to the traditional cold call or the text message. So that's the biggest thing that we've changed as far as the marketing side. For the disposition side, what we used to do before, and you guys, I run a wholesale and fix and flip company. So majority of our deals would do about, on average about 200 deals a year. I would say about 80% of those are wholesale, and then the other is fix and flip. What we've changed this year, because of the uncertainty of the market, is we're wholesaling 98% of them, and we're cherry picking the good ones. And if I don't have a 300K spread, and you guys, it's LA, I know, okay, it's LA. If I don't have a 300K spread, I'm not buying it, right? Because I don't want to get caught with, as Warren Buffett says, when the tide washes away, you see who's standing there with their pants down, right? I don't want that. So for us, we've transitioned to wholesale, and then the fix and flips transitioned to buy and hold. So if anybody's in California, one way we're able to make the numbers make sense is I'm able to buy a SFR in San Bernardino that has a detached garage, and I'm able to turn that detached garage into an ADU, therefore doubling the rents. And that garage conversion is 65 grand, 70 grand at the end of the day, right? And then being able to take advantage of, totally blanked on the code, but being able to take advantage of the junior ADU, the ADU, and the lot split. We're able to come into California and we're able to find lots that are half an acre, and split them, sell the other parcel for what we paid for the entire thing, and have a parcel for free with the house on it, right? So it's really getting creative in California. I know a lot of people like to stay away from California. I personally enjoy California because everyone likes to leave, so therefore they leave more deals for me, which is fantastic. But to answer your question, is getting creative with that, right? There's always a way. Right? There's always a way, and it's just being able to look at the deal and find out, can we add a junior ADU? Can we lot split this? Right? And then being able to buy it at a really good price, right? That's where I believe, the name of the game. Okay. I hope I answered your question.
Oh, spot on. Thank you.
Only 200 deals.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maribel. I am from Peru. I came to U.S. I think like 13 years ago with $50 in my pocket.
15?
Yeah.
Damn, nice.
But with the big dreams, I learned the English, and I also I was going to decide to go work at Publix or Walmart, but I decided to have my own cleaning business. I have 3 teams, and cleaning business is going pretty well. We've been cleaning for 8 years now. And then I decided to, I used to work with a lot of realtors, and they always called me like, hey, Maribel, can you clean this house? And I was like, okay, well, there's extra money in there, extra dirt to pick up also. So we clean houses, and then I was like, well, there's more money in painting, so let's do painting. I learned how to paint. The first time I didn't know, I picked a brush, and then the paint started falling, and then I was like, oh no, this is horrible. I don't know, and I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and finally I can make my line straight and do the baseboards and all that stuff.
I love this story so far. Keep going.
Thank you. And then I work with a lot of sharp realtors. I always like to work with the top ones. And then I started working with the entrepreneurs, with investors. And I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. Like, we're gonna clean this house, we're gonna paint, and we're gonna do some handyman stuff, and then we fix the house for them to put it in the market and fix the yard. And I'm very I did the staging. I was like, let's do the staging. That's gonna make the house looks, beautiful. Like this shower that it has the yellow tile, old-fashioned. Let's just put a white curtain, and then it's gonna be hiding. It's like, it's all about the vision. And a lot of realtors started liking me, and it's like, oh yeah, Maribel's cool. She doesn't just clean toilets. No, she also does staging, and it was a lot of fun. And it's a lot of adventure because each home you go is different. There's clean. There's homes like you can find poop of rats and cockroach and a lot of stuff. It's a surprise. It's like treasure, but it's fun. So then, my husband is Jeffrey Suey. I'm the one who usually work in the handyman stuff, and he's more like writing the lease and all that stuff, like papers, as computers. No. It's kind of like I'm not that tacky person. I'm sorry if my English is not that great, but I try to do my best. And so now he brought me here. I stopped cleaning all the houses and all the Airbnbs and all the stuff that I do as usual. And now our goal is that we already have one fourplex that we're renting. And our goal is we want to have from 1 to 10. And then, how, since you guys are the expert and you guys probably have a lot of experience on that, how to go from 1 to 10, and if I should quit my cleaning and painting business.
So why don't we go to Beth first? Starting the journey, steps along the way.
Yeah, so I would keep your job for now because that's going to be a good source of funds for purchasing your next properties, and also make it easier to qualify too if you have that income. And it may even be worth even expanding that a bit more, scaling that a little to generate more income, maybe with another crew, or there's other, expanding your volume on that. These other people probably will have better answers than this, but I think it's valuable to probably keep that for now. Eventually, once that you get to the 10 and you've achieved your goal, maybe then would be the time to quit that. But yeah.
All right, thanks.
The one thing I might want to think about doing is, on the way to going from 1 to 10, find a way that you can be the owner and then have somebody pay you a fee, kind of step into your business, so you actually aren't doing the cleaning, but your reputation, Maribel, company name. That way you still have the business and you're getting a little drip each month. Don't just shut it down. That would be such a crime after all this labor, blood, sweat, and tears to build up. Make sure you still get that income stream, but you're absolutely right. Keep the business now. You're growing. Revisit it when you get to 5, revisit it, get to 8, but you're on a good path. Right? Don't rush. It takes time. Wealth is a journey. But you do have value in the business, so please don't lose that. I'm sure somebody out there will pay you for that, and then you get a little, a royalty check every 90 days or whatever you negotiate. So realize you got value. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thanks. Nice job. The folks in the back, shh. 10 more minutes. Two more questions and we'll break for lunch.
Hi, I'm Troy Roberts. I'm from North Seattle, Mount Vernon area in particular. I want to say thank you guys for all coming in and hosting this and being a part of the conference. We appreciate the value and the information that you're giving to us today. My question for you is that pretty much where I'm at in my real estate journey is I have a duplex in Kansas City, Missouri, so I'm an out-of-state investor.
Mm-hmm.
But I also live in kind of the Seattle proper area, so our homes are very expensive, and trying to find something with cash flow is next to impossible.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a great deal of experience in understanding like underwriting houses and stuff like that. My question for you is we're at a point where my wife and I, we've exhausted all of our capital at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I understand how to attract and get private money lenders, capital partners, stuff like that, which I have no problem doing, and I already have probably a couple people that would jump on board with me on some projects. However, I want to be able to scale up our portfolio in a way to where we can get to a point where I'm retiring myself from my W-2 job and eventually my wife as well. But I don't want to have to do it on the backs of private money lenders and on capital partners. I want to be able to generate enough capital to be able to purchase and scale up on other properties to where either I'm buying out my capital investors, my private money lenders, or I'm reinvesting that money into a new purchase. And so what would your recommendations be about going about doing that? Because I have a great deal of knowledge in doing construction and stuff like that, and I've really toyed with the idea about flipping properties, especially in our area, Beth.
Build chunk money. How you have to sell assets that you buy to sell, then you keep. Okay. I'm trying to get everybody involved.
Yeah, so if I understand correctly, you have access to private lenders, or at least know how to attract them if you so choose to use them, but you would rather scale the portfolio independent of using private money. Is that fair?
Yes and no. I have no problem getting private money lenders in some of my deals. I just don't want to be tied in and having most of my portfolio with a bunch of private money lenders in the backs up. I'd like to be able to have ownership of my own properties too.
Got it.
So being able to build capital and being able to reinvest that in buying properties, but also being able to bring on capital partners in some of the other projects that I find as well.
Yeah, 100%. So you have an advantage because you invest in the Midwest, right? You did mention St. Louis. So although the lending market is what it is right now, cash out refi will be an effective strategy for you because when you buy in the Midwest, your equity positions are such that you could typically get in and refi out and get your private investors paid off in 12 months, right? If you come in and you do a little bit of like a fix and rent, for instance, as opposed to buying a turnkey, 100%, right? So the BRRRR is effective. I would just be careful of that just in the lending climate that we're in, right? The other part is, just producing more active income. What's something that you said construction? To what degree are you involved in construction?
I just grew up helped building houses as a kid. I'm pretty handy with doing anything in the trades in all generality. Some of the stuff I'm not going to touch, like electrical.
Sure.
Like I'm pretty good with replacing outlets and stuff like that, or rewiring something. But I'm, if I'm going to have to rewire a whole house, I'm going to give it to an electrician.
Got it. Yeah, I think just looking at other ways that you can monetize your skill set, right? Whatever you've acquired over the years, whether you could be a coach or a consultant of some sort, that's a good way to go out and help other people with your expertise and make more income, make more active income, right? That you could then pivot and put that into building out your passive portfolio. But I think you got two things working for you. One, go create another active stream of income. And then two, being that you invest in the Midwest, you are in a position where you can go in and do some BRRRR strategy stuff where you could actually, get the private money for the down payment and then exit in 12 months, refi the initial debt and give them their money back and get them out the deal. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes all the sense in the world.
Okay.
I would also, when you're finding these deals, so one thing that I did when I didn't have any money to first start buying houses, so I would find deals, sell them to the investor, make the money, and then I stack that to eventually buy my deal. And I was coming across great deals. I just couldn't buy them, but I would find an investor and I would say, hey, I want to be silent, right? Pay me $20,000 up front and then give me $1,000 for the next 12 months, whatever the case may be. And so you're in the deal, but you're not really in the deal, right?
You're basically wholesaling. Is what
Yeah, you're just really wholesaling, or being a silent JV partner where you have a separate agreement, right? Just what Brian's saying, find a way to bring in that passive income, right? For all of us, we're like, well, where do we get the money? Well, find the deal. The hardest part is finding the deal. I believe the easy part's finding the money, right? The hardest part's finding the deal. When you find the deal, you can pass it. I mean, how many of you guys would buy a great deal right now? You know what I mean? I mean, you make 30 grand right now by finding a great deal, right? So to piggyback on Brian's saying, just find another way to bring in that excess income.
All right, last question, and we'll break for lunch. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Owie. I'm with my wife, Anne.
Anne and Owie, the disrespectful offer
Yes.
triplex, baby. Yeah, that's him. Everybody, he did it. He did it right there.
I'm real. Me and my wife are here. It works. Yeah, thank you, Mike, for that. So we're based in San Diego. We currently have 20 units. And yes, we did that disrespectful offer. But there's a lot of story that happened in between. But yes, we did the work, and it works, I guess. We're an example of that. So I know I'm keeping everyone from lunch. I'll keep my questions short. I look up to you guys. You guys are all an inspiration to me. Brian, Beth, Casey, Adrian, and Michael, of course. I guess right now, given the current environment, right, it's definitely tough compared to when you guys started or your journey. If you were to do, again, a do-over, I know you get this question a lot, but if you were to do it all over again, what would you do differently given the current environment right now?
I would have gotten a mentor from day one. So I invested for the first, I started when I was 22 back in 06. So I did the first 7-8 years on my own, finally found out about mentorship, and it forever changed my life, right? And so I would go find somebody to help me right now in this climate before I ever struck a check to buy a deal.
I would add that I would have learned about creative financing and seller financing sooner. I think I lost probably 10 years where I thought I couldn't buy a house because I didn't have the tax returns to back that up. But now I know that there's other ways to do it. So that's something that I would do different.
One of my biggest mistakes I made was with tenant selection, and that cost me like 20 grand picking the wrong tenant, and so I never got a mentor. I didn't even know when I started that about Bigger Pockets or about any of I didn't even know what a coach was at the time. So definitely would have been cool to have that, and if I would have had help along the way with the first one, even though that mistake was my second one, I would not have spent so much money in mistakes. But otherwise, I still say slow and steady wins the race, or as fast as you feel comfortable to go. Of course, looking back, I wish I would have bought more. I think everybody would say that. And I still say this now, like we have more money, we should buy more, right? And I'll probably be saying in 10 years, I should have bought more when I had money instead of just letting it sit there and be lazy. So that's what I would probably do. Buy more and get help with tenant selection.
This crowd doesn't look like you guys suffer from this, but for me, it was don't buy dumb shit. I bought a lot of cars. I mean, but I bought a lot of dumb shit, and I should have bought real estate, right? You're doing the right thing. I just told your story, by the way, because he told me. So I was ranting your guys' story to my whole office, to people in my office, and then I have some mentor students that I was telling them, like, look, they need to be doing what, anyways, great freaking job. I would not buy dumb shit, and I would buy houses. You don't need the watch. Girls, you don't need the purse, right? You don't need the car. All that will come, right? Give it time.
I guess the one thing that I look back on Olivia and I's career is sometimes, like what Dion says all the time, if I had my magic wand and could have my perfect portfolio, it would be something between 20 and 40 single-family homes. Let's call it an average of 20 years old. That's not what I own today. In fact, I own almost none of that, right? Standing back looking at it now, I wish I would have been a little bit better at buying, a little bit pickier at buying, right, with the long-term plan. I was so yield-based, so numbers-based, so transaction-based. It's a great deal, great deal, great deal. I wish I would, and again, Olivia kills me all the time because she told me about this, so yes, Olivia, you're right again wherever you are. It's on video, she's right again. But again, so if you know what you want at the end, why wait to the end? Build it now. That would be my final. And then congratulations, 425, 242, disrespectful offer. Yeehaw!
This is as close as I'm gonna get.
Kidding me right now?
Come on now. All right, where's that cameraman? Let's get a picture of this. We got 4 championship rings here. There you go. Well, guys, thank you very much for that. This panel, you guys mean so much to me each and every week. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So again, we are going to break for 2 hours for lunch, networking. General admission in the back, VIP up here. If you want to find me, I will probably be sitting in the ORAD store because I need to let Carlos and Martha eat. So I will be up over there momentarily. Time is yours, 2 hours. Later.